Hey Supercharged Space Cats, it's me, Jules. Last week I promised to show you how to draw buildings and settings. You can use this in all sorts of ways, in projects that you are currently working on, or in your bullet journal, or in your sketchbook. If, like me, you are madly and passionately in love with the art form of picture books, then there are times when you're going to need to drop your characters into settings. I'm going to show you an easy way to draw buildings, and I'm going to show you all the materials that I use. Keep watching to the end of the video for a giveaway of the exact drawings that I'm doing today. To start with, I am using some marker paper. This is A4 size and it's 70 grams. And I've got some new highlighters. I've got these Bic marking highlighter. They come in these 4 colours. So I'm going to be using that as my palette, and then I'm going to use my soft tip Tombow Fudenosuke pen, and we'll give this a go. I haven't used these very much for drawing. I tend to use the hard tipped one more for writing and a bit of text stuff, but we'll see how it goes. So the first thing is I think we'll look at the cityscape to start with, which is this one, and I've drawn, I'll just open this so it shows you against the white. I've drawn on a piece of layout paper a rough idea as to what we are going to draw, and I'm going to put this underneath the marker paper so that I can see through it. The marker paper is reasonably thin. I can just about see through that. And instead of using the black and then colouring, I'm actually going to do it the other way around. I'm going to do some blocks of colour first, and then I'm going to use my black afterwards. And going back to the shape, the drawing, I've made lots of blocks of shape, and they are not all absolutely perfect because I don't want my drawing to be absolutely perfect. So you'll see what I mean as we go along, and the drawing is going to evolve. It's not going to be exactly as it appears there. So let's start. You might see just here I have smudged it a bit, so just be a bit careful when you're working quickly like this that you're not actually moving the ink around too much. Right, time for the old Tombow to come out, and I'm going to do this really loosely. I'm not worrying too much about exact lines because this is just going to be the background for something. Remember, you might have your character in the foreground. This particular pen, because you can press on it hard to make the line thicker or lever off of the pressure to make a thin line, it's quite good for thick and thins. and then very, very loosely, just some foliage in the foreground. And there you have a cityscape. What if you wanted to draw something that was a bit more suburban? Maybe a sort of townhouse. Let's have a go at doing this. And then if you see that this basically is one long rectangle with a sort of squashed rectangle on top of it, and then this is almost a square shape. So let's have a go at doing this. I'm just this time going to use one colour, put it underneath the marker paper, and this time I think I will use the pink. I'm going to get rid of those guys, and I'm not going to use it all over, I'm just going to use it sparingly where I think it needs some colour. So is that a rhomboid? Rhomboids when they can go in like that, or is it they have to be like that? I can never quite remember. But basically you're starting off with a rectangle and you're squishing it in a bit like that. But perhaps you want to make something a bit more fantasy-like, so maybe a castle, if you can imagine somewhere in the French Alps, perhaps. So when I'm drawing, this is you can tell that I'm not a massive fan of perspective, because I'm just going to zoom in a little bit on that. Okay, you can see that I've got it's flat across the bottom, which of course it wouldn't be if we were looking at it in proper perspective. And we can see this side, and we can see this side, which you wouldn't really necessarily see in that way if it was real life. But this isn't real life, this is picture books. So we want it to look a bit more interesting. Again, I'm going to use two colours. I'm going to use the green and the yellow, so the blue and the yellow. Well, at the moment it looks like it's floating in the sky. To put it somewhere on the ground, I'm going to add some trees and a path. I'm going to use the green just to make the flags look a bit more interesting. If you subscribe and hit the bell, then you will be notified every Friday when I upload a video on drawing, planning and publishing. If you want to support the channel, then give me a thumbs up and share this video with somebody who you think might find this information invaluable. Join me next week for something a bit different, using dialogue in stories. I'm off to make inedible cakes for my entire family. I'm sure they'll appreciate it. I will see you next time. Nanu nanu!